and gentlemen.
Welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Movie Wire.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We've got a big show this week with 3 new movies to review, with all 3 playing in theaters right now. This week on the show, the unforgettable true story of UFC legend Mark Kerr. Dwayne Johnson stars in The Smashing Machine. A political prisoner and a gay man share a cell and form an unlikely bond in the remake to the 1985 film comes Kiss of the Spider-Woman. And finally, there's no going back in the 3rd installment. Jared Leto and Greta Lee star in Tron Ares. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, what? A roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire Podcast. You need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
When you feel you've gone to hell in a handbasket.
Valentine, a political prisoner, shares a cell with Melina, convicted for public indecency. An unlikely bond forms as Melina recounts a Hollywood musical plot starring Ingrid Luna in the remake to the 1985 film Come Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
There go the lights. It's in glorious Technicolor. Wait, you throw us right in. We know nothing about the story or the characters.
Don't you like to dream? At least a little?
When you feel you've gone to hell in a handbasket.
When I first went to prison, I thought my life was over.
And the world in which you dwell's no paradise.
It was just beginning.
I can't be here. Why don't we go to the movies?
One of them I'll never forget.
Or later, you're certain to meet.
Kiss of the Spider-Woman starred the great La Luna. No matter how hard Hollywood tried to make her seem all-American,
Cheers.
she never stopped being Latin.
I'm sorry to break the news. Nobody sings in real life.
Well, maybe they should.
The only reason I'm still alive is because I have information they want.
You can scream,
You were in danger the minute you met me.
you can hide, but you cannot escape.
Please, take me away.
I do miracles. I do miracles.
How much more of this can you endure?
There is love in my touch.
There's so much that's beautiful. Would you like to see it?
So the warden this morning? Are you an informer?
Now, I am a big fan of the 1985 adaptation of Kiss of the Spider-Woman. along with the stage show, along with the novel. And when it comes to the 1985 version, I mean, the performances were spot on, including William Hurt. And if you take out 1983's The Big Chill, in my opinion, this was the late William Hurt's true introduction to Hollywood on demonstrating his range as an actor in a powerful performance, as well as the late Raul Julia. Remaking this movie against two fantastic actors that are not with us anymore is a big risk to box office and to fans. Now, it's not going to get the same pushback as some other remakes from well-known movies, but Kiss of the Spider-Woman does have its fans, including me. This version stars Diego Luna, who takes over from the Raul Julia role as Valentin, who is a political prisoner that holds information that is valuable to the political war that's happening in Argentina during 1983. A dirty war that put many reporters, artists, authors in prison for their beliefs and their creativity. There he meets Molina, played by Tonatio, who takes over for William Hurt's portrayal, a gay man that's in prison for indecent exposure. Molina is having trouble adapting to a life change in the gray walls of imprisonment and the distant hesitancy of connection with Valentin. So Molina brings up the idea to escape their bleak surroundings through vivid retellings of an old romantic film, with Molina's favorite glamorous actress, Ingrid Luna, played by Jennifer Lopez, titled Kiss of the Spider-Woman. The film within the film becomes a reflection of emotion from one telling and the one hearing it for the first time, allowing both characters and the audience to slip into a dream world where love, freedom, betrayal, and danger swirl together, giving the audience hints of Molina's feelings and real-world experiences to an exaggerated level. Now, the performances here are extraordinary. Tonatio gives a layered but forte portrayal, fragile yet defiant, tragic yet joy. Opposite of him, Luna, playing Valentin, delivers a raw intensity, letting us feel every ounce of conflict between his ideals and his humanity. Together, their chemistry is magnetic. Every line of dialogue, every glance exchanged, every pause feels earned. Their relationship doesn't feel written, it feels lived. They're embodied into these performances. The chemistry here is the star. But what makes Kiss of the Spider-Woman stand out is how delicately it balances style with substance. The direction by Bill Condon embraces theatrically without sacrificing realism of the emotional element. And the visuals and transitions move effortlessly between gritty and dreamlike. It never feels like an overblown musical, even though we get fantastic colors that is reminiscent of musicals of the 50s. These transitions to the fantasy element feels intimate as they're being told from a jail cell. It would have been so easy to overblow this film with more dancers, more cast, loud musical numbers, but Condon steers away from that, to the point this is also its flaw. It's its flaw with engagement. At times it does struggle to stay relevant as memorable, where we are really entertained by the musical numbers and the emotional chemistry between Luna and Tonatio we look forward to instead of the musical numbers. And that's a dangerous thing to have with a musical, but it shines when it comes to the performances. And that is the counteract balance. But when it comes to performances, part of the problem here, especially when we get to the fantasy element, is with Jennifer Lopez, that on paper must have looked fantastic. A glamorous star, but also a seductive danger. Her performance here is limp. It has no teeth. It's a very safe performance. When it comes to this role, demands range and edge. Here she just plays it like she's in another rom-com. This could have been a breakthrough performance and one of Lopez's most memorable performances to take her out of that typecast of rom-coms. But she plays it safe to subtle when she's supposed to be the emotional output. Instead, she's that friend that doesn't want to get involved. Again, our real two stars here, that of Luna and Tonatio, who carry all the emotional weight. They go all in on our writer-director Bill Condon's intent on this adaptation. Condon's adaptation slightly updates our original Plague's narrative without betraying its soul or intent. It reframes the political tension to an emotional element to reflect contemporary struggles for freedom and truth, while keeping intact the original material of preserving the timeless essence of the character's emotional journey. There is multiple layers to our characters here. There's multiple stakes that we have. That's what makes this a well-balanced character study when it comes to intent, emotional intent, and change of perspective, change of vision, and again, the love for life to some extent. The dialogue feels alive here, sharp when it needs to be, tender when it matters most. There's a haunting rhythm in how the characters trade fantasies and philosophies. Their words gradually blurs the line between illusion and reality. In the final moments of Kiss of the Spider-Woman, it reaches for something universal, a reminder that even in the darkest places, the imagination can be a form of rebellion and love can be an act of courage. But also feeling so strong can take us out of that fantasy because our fantasy of love is set free. Kiss of the Spider-Woman doesn't outdo the stage play, doesn't outdo the novel, and really doesn't outdo the 1985 version, but it does stand on its own in vision. I appreciated the intimacy of it, going from the reality to fantasy and still keeping to the intimate feeling of emotion. It just does enough in the fantasy world with colors and intimacy to make it feel like it's still grounded in this world of chaos. But when it comes to the fantasy element, where the movie does flaws is in the fantasy. If you take out the direction, it doesn't go far enough when it comes to being a musical. Musical number performances are forgettable, the settings are good, the performances are safe, and Luna and Tennantio save it through their chemistry and on-screen performances. This will be Tennantio's breakthrough performance, and it's funny how he outperforms his fantasy of his favorite actress. For a story set in prison, this film feels free to explore sexuality, politics, and love without fear. It honors the pain and the beauty of its characters. It's not afraid to be sensual, emotional, and deeply human. Just like other adaptations, this is a film to think about the state of love and life. I'm giving Kiss of the Spider-Woman 3 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Who can you trust when everyone is a stranger? You know, my parents told me never to talk to strangers, but they should have fucking told me not to watch strangers to prepare me for this damn movie that received half a star. It was supposed to be fun, but then 2 pregnant women later in the threesome. And surprise, it's getting threesome stars. I mean 3 stars. Friday is about to get freaky. Again, in Freakier Friday. The threesome was freakier. Freakier Friday received 1.5 stars. The case that ended it all in The Conjuring Last Rites, which this is the Avengers Endgame for Conjuring fans that satisfies, receiving 3 stars. Greatness demands sacrifice in Him, in which that must mean everybody that went to go see him vomits greatness for sacrificing their time for one of the worst movies of the year, receiving half a star. Prepare for launch and welcome to the family in the Fantastic Four, that even with flaws was a visual spectacle that didn't just focus on our characters looking cool, but the movie in its entirety, receiving 3 stars. No colors are identified, no conversations are recorded, no phone records are kept. Now speak clearly, and when you are finished, say, go ahead. In Relay, that in my review I relate 2 stars. Go ahead. Welcome to the New West in Americana, that received 2 stars. 3 stars for Sydney Sweeney's Jeans. Last night at 2:17 a.m., every child star from Mrs. Gandy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and never came back. In one of the best horror movies of the year, in Weapons, that received 3.5 stars. The Truth is Messy Business and Ethan Cohen's Honey Don't, that had a great premise and an idea of tone, but made me say by the end, Ethan Cohen, please honey don't, receiving 2.5 stars. Justice Makes Him Wet, in the remake to the Leslie Nielsen classic The Naked Gun, which rapid fires gags with only a 50% success, receiving 2.5 stars. Hutch is back and nobody ruins his vacation in Nobody 2, which is an unnecessary sequel, but still a lot of fun, seeing 2 unexpected action stars like Christopher Lloyd, fire a machine gun, and Bob Odenkirk kick some ass, receiving 3 stars. Karma is a killer, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, overacted, recycle, and brings nothing new to the table except 1.5 stars. Love is hard and breakups are harder, especially when an unnatural force has a plan to keep them together, in Together, which will make your date stop holding your hand in the movie, but worth it, receiving 3 stars. Brad Pitt goes vroom vroom in F1 the movie. That was an adrenaline run, especially given the runtime, and it's a feast for the senses, receiving 3.5 stars. Double the bad and double the fun. I don't know about that one in The Bad Guys 2, which was just too much, receiving 2.5 stars. The Universe Called, the wrong number, in Disney Pixar's Elio, which is a much better animated movie than The Bad Guys 2, receiving 3.5 stars. And another movie that's still not as good as Elio, Smurf It Up and Get the Search Party Started in Smurfs, which Smurfin' Sucked, receiving 2 stars. And finally, every choice, every mission has led to this, in Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. which was a clever way to close out the series, but will end with the same feeling as the rest of just blending together, but still a fun in the moment ride, receiving 3 stars. Make sure you check out those reviews of my previous episode, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before I get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that not only is part of my weekly listening routine, but also I have joined them in some fantastic movie discussions. And you can check out their latest episode where I joined Alex over at the Talking Smac Podcast to discuss Tron Ares, where we discuss some rants, some wins, and some spoilers. Make sure to listen and subscribe to their show. The link to that show and that episode will be in the description of this episode. But let's hear from Josh and Alex over the Talking Smac Podcast now.
What's up, nerds? This is Josh from Talking Smac, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and so much more. Every week, we break down the latest blockbuster movies, TV shows, revisit comic events. We even talk to comic creators like Kyle Higgins, Melissa Flores, and Matt Groom. And don't miss out on our Superhero Showdown episodes where we debate your suggestions on who would win in a fight, or maybe they might become friends. So join in on the conversation with me, Josh, and my co-host Alex every Wednesday on your podcatcher of choice. Look for our yellow and red icon, and we'll see you soon, Smackheads.
A highly intelligent program called Ares is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission. Jared Leto and Greta Lee star in Tron Ares.
Since time began, man has gazed at the stars and he has wondered, am I alone? So much talk of AI and big tech today. Virtual worlds, what are they going to look like? When will we get there? Well, folks, we're not going there. They are coming here. I would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate soldier. He's biblically strong, lightning fast, supremely intelligent. And if he is struck down on the battlefield, I will simply make you another.
You think you're in control of this? You're not. What are you?
I'm looking for something. Something I do not understand.
Hang on!
A malfunctioning program who wants to live. Why is that? It's just a feeling. Fascinating.
When I was just out of high school, I used to go on dates to these laser shows down in Seattle that played alongside Pink Floyd or Metallica. These lasers were perfectly designed to coincide the music, creating pulses, faces, objects, or just flicker wildly. It was an experience that I fondly remember, getting ready for a date to be out past midnight to watch these shows. And Tron Ares reminded me of that, and that's exactly what it is. An experience, a light show, a feast for the eyes and senses. But as I was walking out of my second showing of Tron Ares, I thought to myself, I don't see those laser shows anymore, and I haven't seen them pop up in years. And there is no way to have that experience again. especially from the comfort of my own home. And Tron Ares is like my extinct laser shows, where once it leaves theaters, I won't be able to have that same experience. But what's sad is that the laser shows lasted longer in performance than Tron will, with movies having an average lifespan of 2 to 3 weeks. And it begs the question surrounding Tron Ares is, can one still enjoy it from the comfort of home? Sure, some, but it's not the same. Now, I have viewed Tron Ares twice, one in IMAX and the other in just a regular screen. And with a movie like this, of course, IMAX will make it feel like I'm watching a completely different movie. I saw it in IMAX during my second viewing, and that's what sparked my thought of a movie being so heavy on being a spectacle between visuals and sound that it will beg again the question of intent. Did the filmmakers want to just make a limited release spectacle? That's the question. This go around, the movie stars Greta Kim as Eve Kim, the current CEO of Encom. Eve discovers a long-lost permanence code created by Kevin Flynn, our programmer from the 1982 film, which could allow digital beings to exist permanently in the real world. At the same time, rival company Dillinger Systems, headed by Julian Dillinger, son of former Encom executive Ed Dillinger from the original, who unveils Ares, a highly advanced program designed to be the ultimate weapon, obedient, expandable, and deadly, brought to the real world by so quick, really cool, big 3D printers. But the only problem is that Ares can only last in the real world for about a half hour. Julian makes a plan to exploit the permanence code to get his transfers into the real world. Now, a part of the problem is that for a 2-hour runtime, the story is weak and plays secondary to the visuals and the audio that attempts to distract us from the flaws of the story, along with simplistic dialogue, in which we can tell this really wants to be more than what it is. For example, we have our Ares character, and Ares begin to experience life beyond his programming. Fascinated by natural phenomena and a questioning of his purpose, he starts to rebel against his creator's intentions. As Ares becomes more self-aware, he finds himself caught between two worlds, one that sees him as a tool and the other that offers a chance at true identity and freedom. We even have that fascination from another scene where we have another character come into the real world and she feels raindrops for the first time. There are brief moments of wonder here, and that's the extent of these moments. They're just brief moments without true exploration or emotional stake that builds to make us care. And you know why? Because that would take up too much time out of the spectacle we see on screen. Now, this is where I'm torn. As an experience, Tron Ares is a lot of fun to listen and look at. There are moments of awe, but these moments of awe outweigh what our writer's intent is here, that we can tell could have been something more. Our writers David DeGilio and Jesse Wigato's moments, or lack thereof, of writing awe is missing here. But beside the visuals that do look fantastic, what really makes this work is our music by our composers Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and of course, 9 Inch Nails. This is where it took me down memory lane of watching those laser shows I spoke about, because the visuals work perfectly with our soundtrack here. Our director, Joaquin Ronning, does a fantastic job here intertwining these filmmaking elements. On the surface, this could seem like a big job for Ronning based on his resume, who has directed such films as Kon-Tiki from 2012, Young Woman in the Sea, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. But what Ronning delivers is exactly what we have seen from his movies past, which is tying together all the elements of filmmaking to make a vision work. From visuals to tying it together with spot-on music with proper editing. All of it is in unison here when it comes to the filmmaking process. This is an adult version of Fantasia, where it feels like a simplistic story, but the movie targets our senses to take us on this journey of awe. We don't care about the story. The characters are limp, there's no stakes, and we have our two antagonists, Julian and Elizabeth Dillinger, played by Evan Peters and Gillian Anderson, that add no real threat level to the point all we get from them is dirty looks, annoyed faces, and most of the time we have Julian looking at a high-tech 3D printer or at a computer, and Elizabeth just looking at Julian. There is no real stake here. The characters are lame. The performances are just okay, but in complete fairness, the writing here gives them nothing really to work with, nothing to do. The writing just has our antagonists do nothing. They're just mere props for the visuals that we get. And this is where I debate myself. Again, this is where I'm torn. Should a film review be based on how I was entertained by the overall experience, or the movie holistically, longevity of how it will hold up when it hits streaming, given in mind that many people don't have surround sound, sound bars, Dolby Atmos, 85 to 100-inch TVs. Should I give it a recommendation that may not hold up to standards when watched from home? Or do we look at this film as just a film that aims to please as an experience in the moment while you watch it in theaters? Tron Ares isn't a bad movie, but it's also not holistically a good film since it solely banks on visuals, music, and even a touch of nostalgia. But for some, that may be good enough. But between the limp characters, the lack of potential messaging the film hints at but never follows through on, the razor-thin story that was made just to display the visuals on screen, it's hard for me to give a full recommendation, but I will say this. If you are to see it in theaters, in the biggest theater with the best sound, and enjoy. You will enjoy the experience, and you will enjoy it for what it is. A laser show or a 4th of July fireworks show, it's pure popcorn entertainment and in-the-moment fun. I enjoyed it, but I will find it hard to revisit it without a big theater screen. So I'm giving Tron Ares a slight recommendation if you see it in theaters at 3 stars. The story of mixed martial arts and UFC champion Mark Kerr Dwayne Johnson stars in The Smashing Machine.
Probably looking at my eyes.
How did that happen?
Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How do you know Mark Kerr?
Oh, we go way back. But he's a buddy of mine.
Come on, baby. Too much?
Never.
Too much?
No.
Please welcome in his Octagon debut, Mark Kerr!
Winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world. No contract, no money?
No money.
Do you have any stronger pain medication?
Advil?
Advil?
Yeah.
Don, would you like
No.
some? They're handing them out like candy. Let's all get in. Everybody get in. Hey, Don, can you take this picture for us?
Yeah.
What are you thinking at the beginning of the fight?
It's simple. Am I going to hurt him before he hurts me?
Yes, there were times, I'm sure
This Grand Prix to crown the greatest fighter in the world. He has come back from the brink. Let's see if he can pull out a victory over Mark Coleman.
Have you spoken to either about fighting such a good friend for a life-changing amount of money?
I faced it all.
I just need you to let me in.
I took the bull.
Always about you. Only about fighting you.
Let's fucking go. My big strong man, I love you.
Think he wants your autograph.
Sure, no problem. No fighting.
It comes a time in an actor's life where action movies, family movies, and such cinematic classics like The Tooth Fairy, where actors like Dwayne Johnson has his eye on getting out of typecasting of an action movie star playing the same character in different family settings to now a more dramatic role playing a wrestler / fighter. That hits us in the face like an Oscar grab. But again, I can't blame him for leaning into his strengths, especially a sports movie, a fighter movie that on paper looks good as a potential Oscar bait, especially with a script from 2019's Uncut Gems, Benny Safdie, who also directs here. Now, this isn't the first time we are told the story of Mark Kerr. There was also a documentary of the same name in 2002 called The Smashing Machine that told the story of Kerr's life. Here, Dwayne Johnson plays Mark Kerr, who is a professional mixed martial arts fighter who competed in UFC and Pride FC, who used blended styles of fighting to go strategically against opponents, who is known for being a friendly giant that transformed into an aggressive and dominant figure that gained him the nickname the Smashing Machine, that due to his growth of fame, that was due to an overall addiction to painkillers. Now, the film was set in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The Smashing Machine follows Kerr's rise of underground tournaments to national fame, charting his triumphs in the ring and his struggles outside of the ring. Alongside him is Dawn Staples, here played by Emily Blunt. Alongside him is his partner, Dawn Staples, played by Emily Blunt, whose relationship with Kerr somewhat grounds the film in emotional reality as he battles addiction that I'll get to in just a second. But it also addresses the fragile identity of a man built to fight. Off camera, out of competition, he was a friendly man, but when the cameras were on, he entered a state of sensory overload, and that became the nickname the Smashing Machine. But here we also see the outside of the cameras, where when the cameras are off, he became the friendly giant, a man vulnerable to his struggles and past, along with being a people pleaser to everyone, including his family. Now, what I just described is more so to the 2002 documentary. It was more honest when it comes to struggles, determination, and vulnerability. When it comes to the 2025 version, here we get the Hollywood version of it. We get snippets here in a safe manner when it comes to putting on a display of moments that could put the spotlight on performances to gain an emotional reaction, especially when it comes to his partner Dawn, again played by Emily Blunt, that do share a back and forth chemistry here that, in my opinion, is a hit or miss. That the dialogue doesn't support these two, but that's not the main problem here. It's also so formulaic with so many elements working against each other that leaves it to question believability, such as both of our talents being such familiar faces in other type of movies. We wait for our eyes to adjust to something new that we're seeing, like being woken up in the middle of the night after somebody turning on the light switch. This is where we're not adjusted to having such big names and familiar genres come to us in a dramatic role. So after the 30 to 45 minute mark, I'm waiting for my eyes to adjust when it comes to these performances, just hoping it becomes believable. But this is newer territory for both of them due to the fact this isn't something we've seen from them, or at least one of them, in a long time. And it takes us out of the believability of it because my eyes never really adjusted. I still felt the presence of these two, or at least one of them, including Dwayne Johnson, is a little bit too much. And it's not that they're horrible performances, because they're really not. It's just on the surface, the visual of it. It feels like a good casting choice to put butts in seats in theaters, but it feels too forced by big names when this should have been something much smaller. And this would have amplified the idea of it, of not promoting some big names, but the idea of the story. And by going by smaller names and just having smart marketing and a smart trailer, I don't think this would have hurt the box office results much if the trailer was done right. Because here the trailer didn't attract me to this movie because Dwayne Johnson, to a point, again, looks a little ridiculous, and you can't have your eyes adjust with just a 2-minute trailer with his costume, his acting, something that's out of the norm that we're not used to seeing him in a role like this. Even though I have a respect for what he's trying to create to get out of that typecasting and go to something more serious that kind of fits him, that suits him. So again, I want to be clear. This isn't a movie of bad performances. It's an adjustment to the eyes that was too much too soon. This is a movie that should have been built on a foundation of new faces, or newer faces, and allowed amateur raw dialogue to be delivered. Each one between Blunt and Johnson have their moments of great performances. They have, and even though I wasn't completely bought in, together Johnson and Blunt create at times a relationship with individual performance road bumps that at times does feel authentic, fragile, and does attempt the pain factor, and works most of the time. We are waiting for the formula of Kerr's addiction to make him snap, and that's kind of almost a sad piece of it, because the formula of a based on true story, famous person, actor, actress, musician, whatever it may be, we already know what the outcome is going to be. We are waiting for the formula of Kerr's addiction to make him snap, and in a twist here, to the film's credit, the film addresses the pain of addiction onto others, the mental stability of fame. We have seen this on different levels on films past, where we see loneliness, where we distance, where we see aggression, but here we see a new level of what addiction can do to somebody else, along with the mental stability of fame, which steers away from the standard sports formula, but the standard formula is always present. It's about identity. It's about the price of performance. Kerr's struggle is not just against his opponents, but against himself. The version of him the world demands to see versus the vulnerability human being underneath. The film explores how athletes, particularly fighters, are often consumed by the image of strength as a visual, but the inside struggles are the true conflict. The messaging for a true story should feel more complex, but instead follows the same formula of struggle that we have seen from true stories past, of what the addiction of winning can lead to, which is more addiction of using a substance out of desperation to fill in the gaps of an emotional validation. Time and time again, we have seen movies tackle the addiction based on the stresses of fame. Here, addiction becomes a reoccurring metaphor throughout the story. Addiction to painkillers, to validation, to the thrill of combat. Each of these drives Kerr to closer self-destruction, even as he chases redemption. And at this point, redemption is really never truly explored. And this is the theme of the movie, is that we never really deep dive into these themes, this validation, these themes of redemption. It just feels like a glimpse. And at the runtime of just over 2 hours, we should have seen more. Everything seems short-handed here, from the fights to the emotional stakes. There's never anything that really has a focus on where it wants to take the messaging. Our director, Safdie, doesn't offer neat resolutions. Instead, he shows the cynical nature of self-doubt and dependency, making the film more of a character study than an inspirational sports story, but on a lazy level. It has moments that you think it's going to go there. It feels like it has so much to cover, but it just goes off track. It doesn't know what part of the messaging. And this is where Safdie should have really used his uncut gem strategy of bringing an intensity to really have a drive to the messaging, to really have it high stakes, high driven, the anxiety driven fights that really does look inward to a character study. This is where he should have used his true instincts on having a really good score, having a really solid pace, to really drive the message in an intensity that we have never seen from a sports movie before on its entire runtime. Instead of utilizing the proper strategy of the chaos of his earlier work, the Smashing Machine feels so quiet and formulaic. The camera often lingers on moments of stillness, Kerr sitting in locker rooms, staring at himself in mirrors, or collapsing in exhaustion after a fight. But it feels like it's not filling in the gaps with substance, but rather close-up shots of injection shots, bright lights, or brief moments of simplistic dialogue that doesn't go far enough or doesn't do anything with it. The visual style even avoids romancing the violence. This is a movie about fighting and a man that is hard on himself for winning or losing or self-determination of becoming something. We have to have a stake here. Everything here from an emotional level, a fighting level, a stakes level. These scenes feel short-lived. They don't go deep enough. I can see where this movie wanted to go, but it's trying to tell a message, tell a story of a struggling but determined man. But it never really comes together in the end. The Smashing Machine might not appeal to everyone, but there will be fans here just based on the true story. The emotional grab, people will like this movie. Its pacing is deliberate and more often than not, less successful. And this is what we call a forgettable sports movie. Adrenaline-filled sports film fans might find themselves wishing for more momentum or an emotional stake. Safdie intentionally resists those conventions, but the trade-off is a story that can feel emotionally distant as the film moves on. It takes a formula and attempts to tell the same type of true story, but the sad piece of it, we have become too familiar with the tragedy of athletes, actors, actresses, performers, musicians, etc., that we bear the weight of an audience to fill in the gap with less successes and validation from our filmmakers. Our filmmakers try so hard with the same formula to push the message of addiction comes from appeasing fans, family, friends, and staying relevant, if you will. This type of true story formula isn't something new, as sad as it is, but rather how you deliver a message to this type of story. It's not so much that we're not familiar with the story. You have two different directions you can go, from sports movies to true stories, whatever it may be. Does it inspire? Does it tell a message? Does it impact a message and land it home? Or something new and fresh? Does it land the message? Does it land the story? Does it land the true story in a new, appeasing way that doesn't follow the same tropes? This type of movie, true stories, are well-known people. We need to focus on how we land the message and not so much following the same old grandma's recipe. I'm giving The Smashing Machine 2.5 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.